Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and today I'm going to talk about my reactions to Sony's 2015 E3 press conference. First, I have to apologize if you hear like a lot of noise outside. At the time I filmed this, it's right after the conference, and the Chicago Blackhawks, I live in Chicago, won the Stanley Cup finals, and therefore there's a lot of people like partying outside, so please forgive that. Now the first subject, I'm just going to kind of go through them one at a time, and we'll talk about each thing. I'll just give a little blurb on it. The first thing was their opening cinematic. It was fine. It got you kind of rolling. I kind of liked the Xbox One's cinematic better because it used the Man of Steel theme and it just kind of captivated me. This wasn't really familiar. It was just kind of, exciting. But, whatever. It got you ready for what you're about to see. Next up was The Last Guardian. Thoughts on this? I got two thoughts on this. Like, wow, awesome. I'm glad this is finally coming and it looks really, really cool. But you guys know all that. People are going to tell you about that. So my short version of that is, yes, I'm excited. I think that's awesome. But the other part of that was, to me, that was super cruel at the beginning, because there were all sorts of rumors about, even IGN during the press conference was talking about how Shenmue might have some sort of announcement. And so the way that they set it up at Sony, it seemed like they were gearing up to announce Shenmue, like right at the beginning. And it even had this like feather drop, which is a thing that happens in Shenmue, and I was like, oh my god, it's here! And then they switched over to The Last Guardian, and I was like, yeah! It crushed me. As you all know, I'm sure it had a happy ending, but that initial reaction was like, fuck! But point is, Last Guardian coming out, that's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to that, and now it's going to be a PS4 game, not surprisingly, but yeah, that's definitely something I'm going to want to look into. Horizon Zero Dawn. Obviously, didn't hear about this game beforehand. This looks like it's a new IP, it's an exclusive, which is really cool, and it looked really good. It reminded me of, there's like an A&E series or whatever, what is it, the History Channel? Somebody did a series that was like what happens after humanity would go away, like, all of our buildings and stuff would be retaken by the Earth. So what happens, I guess, when there are some survivors, and that's the basis of this game, plus looks like robots or something. I don't know, it looked cool. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. It looked like a fun game. Next up was Hitman. I didn't think much of this. I mean, it looked good. It's Hitman. It's obviously some kind of reboot of sorts. It didn't seem like it was Sony particular. It appears like it's going to be a multi-plat and everything. And I guess you're going to get like early access on the PS4 version, which is, I guess, cool. Honestly, I didn't have that much thought on it. I liked other Hitman stuff. This is probably going to be pretty good, and yeah, we'll just go from there. Street Fighter V. This one is an exclusive, which is cool. Granted, they kind of treated this the way that Microsoft treated Rise of the Tomb Raider. Games you would expect to be multi-plats, they did like, special deals to kind of lock them down. Not the biggest supporter of that, but whatever. It is an exclusive, and that's cool. Although for an exclusive game, they didn't show that much of it, which was a little weird. Like, they gave you a little trailer and everything, but I guess with a fighting game, I mean, you really have to play it more than just watch it. At least that's how I feel. Honestly, not super excited. I like the Street Fighter games, but it's hard to get excited about a series that you know is going to be re-released like 100 times. So personally, I'll just wait until we get Super Street Fighter Ultimate Mega Ultra Edition 5. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll wait. I'm not in any rush. No Man's Sky. This one looked intriguing, but it's like the guy who was presenting it didn't really know how to make his point. It seemed to be like this giant, ultra world game that consists of a whole galaxy full of different planets that you can explore, and perhaps he didn't really explain how, but it seems like those, if I had to guess, I'd say those planets are like randomly generated through a series of characteristics, and you as a player can put in coordinates and just find some planet. And I'm assuming this is some sort of online game where you can like find a planet and people can go to your planet or whatever. I mean, it just seems like a very big and expansive world, but it doesn't seem to have a whole lot of point yet. At least that's my interpretation based on the guy who was presenting it. Did anybody else feel differently? I'm certainly open to hearing more about it as time goes on, but yeah, my initial reaction is it looks huge, but what can you do in it? And we had Dreams. Dreams looked weird. Like, artistically and visually it looked amazing. But I kind of question what the point of this game is. It just kind of looked like the whole idea was just to kind of create a universe and just be artistic in a very fancy type of way. But what the gameplay elements are to that, I don't know. Maybe theoretically, based on what it looked like, maybe you can create whole games. Like, you know, I don't know. Maybe you decide, oh, I want zombies to fight against, or suddenly I want to switch over to aerial combat versus spaceships. I mean, who knows? I mean, it just seemed like a weird game where like looks like anything is possible, or it's just a glorified like artistic game. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out over time. Then we saw a game called Firewatch. This one looked kind of cool. It's like it looks like you're a forest ranger or something, and I don't know, there's some sort of mystery element to it, and your only communication system is like this little walkie-talkie you've got, and that gives you advice. I gotta be honest, that seems, just because of that job, you know, being a forest ranger, that's not something that gets too much exposure in media, really, and you gotta think there's some cool stories that happen with that. So I assume the nightmare scenario of what it is to be a forest ranger could be an interesting game, and clearly they've gone ahead and made that, so yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. Then they talked about Destiny, like DLC or whatever. This kind of bothered me because, well, I didn't really give a shit about Destiny, to be perfectly honest with you. And I know a lot of people did like it, and I know a lot of people didn't. So DLC, I guess, is to continue the story. Honestly, I don't know. I really didn't care about it that much. It just seemed like a general theme with Sony's press conference was that a lot of the stuff was like first on PlayStation or had exclusive beta access. Not a whole lot of true exclusives. At least that's how it seemed up until that point. I want to make that very clear. At that point in the show, it just seemed like, yeah, we got a couple of exclusives, and then we've got some, you can play the game a little bit earlier than other people type of stuff. So this one seemed more like that. It was just DLC that I'm sure Xbox and PC are getting as well. They talked about Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which was a little bit spoiled because Ubisoft had already had their press conference, so we obviously knew about it. We've known about it for a while. We saw a lot more of it. Then we just saw a little sample. So what they really kind of focused on was like, here's all the things that are special on the PlayStation 4 version. You know, you get a couple extra DLC packs, you get to play it a little bit earlier, that kind of thing. I still haven't really played any of the Assassin's Creed stuff, much to my girlfriend's dismay, but I will play them, I promise. And yeah, on that level, I'm looking forward to these another entry into the series because it's definitely a respectable series, and I'm looking forward to being able to marathon it at some point. World of Final Fantasy. This one was funny as hell to watch, especially in hindsight, because they set it up like, all right, before this whole press conference came out, there was a big leak that there's going to be a Final Fantasy VII remake announced at Sony PS3 or PS4 E3 blah, and so then they started talking about Final Fantasy. So naturally, everyone in the crowd is just like, "Oh my God, yes!" Because they all think it's going to be the Final Fantasy VII remake. And then they come out and they're like, "You've been waiting, and here it is." And it's the world of Final Fantasy with these like little chibi versions of the characters, and it's a totally different game. And I thought it was like what happened at like last year at some other event where everybody's like, yeah, Final Fantasy VII, and they're like, we have Final Fantasy VII, this is the exact same PlayStation version, but slightly HD'er. I thought they were just trolling again. I was like, oh man, the Final Fantasy fans are going to rip you guys apart. And I'm sure they knew that, which is why they immediately followed it up with, oh, and by the way, here's the actual Final Fantasy VII remake. Go nuts! So, that kind of blew my mind. Like, Final Fantasy VII has never been a game that I was too passionate about or I really cared about. I know, everybody, the people will go nuts over that game. I get it. And no knocking it. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm simply saying it was never one of mine. And when I first heard that, I was like, wow, some people are going to be really happy, you know. And Rise of the Guardian and now this, wow. It kind of opened up doors in my mind. But yeah, so I was happy for those people that they get to enjoy that, and yeah, so everybody, congratulations, Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming. They then focused on a couple of indie games, and honestly the titles were so fast and they just showed you little clips that I really didn't get much of a sense of what they were. From what little I saw, they were pretty cool, and I hope they get physical releases at some point, because I certainly would like to check them out. None of them looked bad to me. Then after they talked about those indie games, they brought up another one. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was only motherfucking Shenmue III. Oh my god. It's time. Holy shit, it is happening. Alright, now I already did a whole video on this because of my instant reaction, and I want to thank you guys because you were very, very enthusiastic along with me, and I've said so much about it, but I need to say a few other things. Obviously, I'm very happy about it, but in regards to the conference as a whole, obviously it was just thrilling. There were people in the crowd that were cheering. There were people standing up. There was one guy crying. I mean, I basically cried too. Like, I was so happy. But there's a few other things that need to be discussed about it. Now, Sony is not actually funding this game. It's going up through Kickstarter. Now, I will provide a link to that Kickstarter in the description, and I beg you to support it. I supported it. I supported the $500 tier, okay? And I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But they're willing to take any kind of donation. You can get the game digitally, I think for $29, both for PS4 and PC. And they're going for $2 million. Now, at the time I shoot this video, and it's going to go up a couple days after I shoot it, they've already reached 1.5 mil. So they're going to make that $2 million goal, but we're going to see how far they actually take it. And we'll see what kind of stretch goals come out of it. They've already said some of them, and if they go beyond those, who knows? Now, unfortunately, the game is digital only. Now, people are saying, oh, there's a physical release. It's like, yeah, there's a physical box. I don't know if it actually has a disc or whatever. Personally, I don't really care about that because I don't play stuff on a PC. So I would prefer the PS4 version. And now I've been on the record many times saying, like, I don't support digital games. I don't. Here's the thing. This kills me, but I honestly don't know what I'll do if they only truly give us a digital version. But I don't think that's going to be the case for two reasons. One, the popular consensus floating around right now amongst IGN and others is that Sony wanted to contribute to this thing, but they weren't really sure how much people would still care. So it's sounding more like they cut a deal with Yu Suzuki. Basically, you get $2 million on Kickstarter, you actually get this thing rolling, we'll contribute some more money, you'll get a physical release, and this will be a more full-blown release. So if you believe that, it looks like, hands down, that's going to happen, and we're eventually going to get that physical PS4 release. Or that could be one of the stretch goals down the line. I mean, if games like Retro City Rampage could get physical releases, why couldn't Shenmue III? We'll see. So I'm very excited about that, and but even if it doesn't get that release and it stays digital, I want people to know that while it wouldn't be preferable to me, I didn't support it to get it for myself. Okay, I'm supporting it to help everyone get it. I mean, I wouldn't be that passionate about a game that I've been harping on for years if I didn't think it was something that everyone should enjoy. And that includes Shenmue III and its digital release. Even if I can't fully enjoy that because it's digital, I want you guys to be able to because you don't necessarily have the same restriction, you know? People, like, you guys don't all necessarily care about digital or physical or whatever. So if I can contribute, if I can put money in, at least you guys will be able to enjoy that game that way. And of course, I'll get all sorts of physical perks that come with it. And yeah, so point is, I'm very happy about it. I'm very happy this is coming out. I honestly think there will be a physical release. I think that more money is going to go into this, not only from Kickstarter, but perhaps from Sony once they realize, like, wow, all right, there's a deal. We don't know, but I think that's how it's going to go down. And yeah, so again, I'm going to put a link to the Kickstarter in the description. Please, please support that. After that amazing announcement, they started talking about, honestly guys, at that point I was so ecstatic, I was running around, I was crazy. I couldn't really focus on the show anymore, but I tried, so I apologize if my reactions after that point aren't quite as detailed. They announced a new Batman thing. Yeah, they showed a lot of gameplay of that. I mean, that's new. Oh, it's not an announcement because we already know that game's coming, but they just showed more of it. And yeah, it looks really cool, and I'm sure I'll definitely check that out at some point. They then, of course, talked about their VR thing, which is their competitor to now Microsoft, Facebook's Oculus Rift, which is... Sony had to try something, but in all honesty, I don't think theirs could possibly compete with Microsoft and Facebook working together on the Oculus Rift. I think the marketing there is too strong. But if they somehow pull it off, props to them. Then they talked about PlayStation Vue, which, okay, I'm not going to lie. At this point, I was running all around. I couldn't focus at all. I know it had something to do with apps. I know you want more educated information, but I'm sorry. After they announced Shenmue III, I couldn't focus anymore. But yes, I can't lie. I don't know much about the PlayStation Vue, but they talked about it. They then talked about Call of Duty Black Ops 3, and they showed gameplay of that for a long time. Call of Duty Black Ops 3 is something obviously we've all known for a very long time. We've seen it before. I think I honestly don't pay too much attention to it. I like Call of Duty games very casually. I don't get obsessed with them. They don't drive me that much. So I mean, it's a game I'll check out at some point. I'll check out the single player campaign, play through it once, and probably never touch it again. So I'm not as ecstatic as most people are, but congratulations on an inevitable release. Okay, this one's dumb. After they talked about Black Ops 3, I went over to my computer because I was starting to get a bazillion notifications about Shenmue 3. They talked about something and I missed it. I'm sorry. So I don't even know what that gap was. After that, they started talking about Disney Infinity, and they talked about all the benefits to the PlayStation version, like it's going to have this extra character and it looks like this, and they showed some gameplay. And I don't really care too much about Disney Infinity, but I will admit that actual gameplay did look kind of fun. It's just too bad you require like toys to actually play it, but it is what it is. Then they talked about Star Wars Battlefront. And this one kills me, absolutely kills me, because aside from Shenmue 3, Star Wars Battlefront 3 was like my longest running, please make this damn game. And after Disney bought Star Wars and they announced Battlefront, I was like, yes! But then of course they announced that EA was doing it, and I was like, no! And then of course inevitably EA found every single way to wreck it. Yes, the game looks cool because they're just showing you good parts of it. But if you really look at all the details, it's incredibly stripped down compared to what even Battlefront 2 offered us over a decade ago. And it's depressing because that game should have been so much bigger and better, but in EA's hands, naturally, it was fucking destroyed. Now, yes, we haven't actually played it yet, but I'm just basing it on all the lack of features that we already know, and of course all the pre-planned bonus DLC Mega Pack editions, one of which is like you can buy a little sticker, a digital sticker of a stormtrooper going, yeah, we won! And then they capped it off with a very glitchy and kind of buggy attempt at showing us Uncharted 4. That was kind of funny. That was like, it was a weird thing for them to end on, because like Uncharted 4 is of course this big title for them. They were having a really good conference up to that point. They brought back legendary IPs and everything, and they ended with what should have been huge, but they had technical problems. They started this trailer, got into the game, and then the guy who was supposed to be playing the game, I guess his controller wasn't working or something, because the character was just standing there for like a good minute. That was sad, but kind of funny. But yeah, after that, they played through the game, and it looks really good. It looks cool, and I'm looking forward to checking that out. And I gotta admit, I'll probably pick up that Uncharted HD collection thing that they're doing for the PS4, because I'm sure that'll all kind of blend together. And yeah, I don't know, I think that'll be fun. And so yeah, overall, initially, my impressions of their press conference was negative. I thought that, you know, first of all, they fucking teased me, or so I thought, initially with The Last Guardian, where I thought it was Shenmue. And then most of their stuff was like, here's timed exclusive, this is timed, here's first on PlayStation, here you can play the beta if you want, here's an extra DLC pack. Like, it wasn't too incentivizing. Until they started dropping real exclusive bombs on us. And then of course, the ultimate holy shit moment. So they went from like, to, oh my god, greatest conference ever. And so, thank you Sony for that, and thank you to everybody for watching, and thank you for making Shenmue 3 possible, for helping, I'm not going to go on to that all again, but thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all later.